This is the Mobile App Minute, a weekly look at how to market your mobile app in a noisy world. Here are your hosts, Rob Woodbridge and Peggy Ann Souls.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the Mobile App Minute. My name is Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv.
And I'm Peggy Ann Saltz over at Mobile Groove.
Peggy, app marketplaces and ranking and review sites tend to follow the action, but it's up to you to get into the party, if you will. Reviews and media buzz are a must. Without them, no one will take you seriously. But getting people to notice your app can be a challenge because of the sheer volume of apps released each and every single day. Must-read sites like Pocket Gamer provide a live count of apps, and the numbers are astounding. At last count, there are nearly 2.5 million apps in the two major app stores. That's Apple App Store and Google Play combined. Each day, an average of over 1,000 apps are submitted to the App Store alone. How in the hell do you compete in that world? The pace of mobile app development is blistering, and your app can be lost in the fray if you don't get media attention during and before the critical launch of your application. How, Peggy, can these poor developers stand out?
Boy, Rob, you make it sound really desperate
but
and dismal from the start. And I know it is, but you're not exactly toast from the start. There are some tips and tricks out there. I've covered them in my 2 app books, Apponomics and the Everything Guide to Mobile Apps. I mean, one point is the reviews, okay? That is the lifeblood of your app. You know for yourself, Rob, when you want to download an app, when you're thinking about downloading an app, you're looking at the reviews. So that tells you need to get your app reviewed. How do you do that? Well, there's some legwork here, but you have to do it. You have to identify your review sites. I want to stress review sites that are relevant to your app. So if you have a camera app, and it takes pictures and you send it to a site that reviews games, well, duh, they're not going to review it, right? Okay, so that's a given. And you have to do other things. You have to give them things like a promo code because they want to download it for free before they review it. And look at these sites. Take the time to take a look at who's behind the reviews. What rules do they have? Some people say, don't email me. I only do Twitter or whatever. I mean, pay attention to those rules because if you don't, you're going to end up irritating the reviewer, and that's going to be a mark against you from the very start. So reviews, very key. You have to go out and get them. It's work. But when you have a review, it makes your app, makes your app attractive to users like us.
All right, that covers reviewers. What about the tech media? They are a hard nut to crack.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't help that they're probably getting emails from you. And what was it you said, Rob? 1,000 a day, so 1,000 other app reviews, app releases a day. So they're feeling a little bit sort of, special, shall we put it, Rob? Right? So,
good way to put it.
Good way to put it. So they're feeling special. So what do you have to do? You have to do the same work. You have to, craft your pitch, make certain your release has the right wording. Those 5 W's are critical. Some people don't like the 5 W's. That's too old school. So you have to start off with something really snappy, and then you have to follow up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot of work, which is why I am extremely excited about PressFriendly because it's a new platform. I just found about it recently. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it, especially if you look at the co-founders, founders, and the advisors, execs from Foursquare. This company is going places. And the reason it's going to be going places is because it addresses the pain points along this procedure. So, app developers, yes, you have to get that story right. Well, how are you going to do storytelling if you're spending a lot of time on your app and maybe you've never looked at communications around your app? So the point here is that app developers, they need time to craft their story, to curate the content. I know because that's what I do for many of my clients. It's very time consuming, and that is here where PressFriendly has cracked the code as far as I'm concerned about making it possible for app developers to promote their apps with success. So I'm going to take you through the platform. They were kind enough to give me a little bit of a run through it, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, the site does what it says here. It provides app developers with a platform to build and manage, very key, great PR campaigns. So it's not just an amazing platform. It has a human touch, and I'm going to get to that later because when you when you get stumped anywhere along the way, depending on your price plan or depending on where you are in the process, you can get a human being. You can get advice from a PR expert when you need it, and I think that's really key for a lot of people. So even if you don't have a clue, the Story Wizard will help you formulate the right email, the right wording to get press attention. It assists you with really key questions. Figure out what the news is, starting with key questions about your app story, your success metrics, covering all those 5 W's that we know make a solid story and you need before you outreach to the press. And after you've put that together, you can schedule a session with a PR professional, as I said, to go over the release. Different packages allow you different access to PR professionals. And then this is really important. To close the loop, the platform suggests the right media, down to the correspondent, based on what your story is and what your objectives are. I'd like to stress that this is a living list. The company tells me how they do this. They scrape the web, they scrape media archives to figure out who are the correspondents, who are the journalists really covering which topics, because you won't read that in a masthead and you won't always see that in, about us, right? So they scrape it, and more importantly, they update it. So if they see that a certain journalist hasn't been writing for 3 weeks, the system sort of says, red alert, this journalist isn't covering this, games apps anymore, who is, and, the whole system then, it's a living system, updates itself, meaning that when you're sending out your release, when you're sending out your news, you're hitting real people. And important also, you don't just deliver them stuff, deliver them content, tell them about your app, basically broadcast your promotion. You can also schedule follow-ups. You get into curating a list. You can pick people on your list. You can really start to create relationships with the press, which is really, really key, because you're probably going to have an update to your app or another app, and you want to go back to people and say, hey, it's me again. And on top of that, it's also, how are the journalists, how are the correspondents reacting to your app? Well, the company tells me they have a 28% open rate on this outreach, and the company is new, so you can imagine it can go nowhere else but up, Rob.
28%. Like, if you've ever gone through this process, you know that sending an email to a reporter about your app is basically ejecting it into a black hole, where you hope, above hope, that that reporter is in a good mood on the day that they receive your email and it doesn't go to their spam folder and they completely ignore you. It's a very, very, very hard thing to do. So any service that brings that forward and helps the developers and alleviates it, because quite frankly, maybe this isn't the developer's strong point. PR and dealing with media, right? Maybe not? Probably not.
Absolutely not.
So they have, what I like about this is, of course, you can go in there and you can test the services. They have 3 different pricing models, but they have a free version, which is basically it helps you build and export your pitch for free. There's, I think, a limited media list that you can actually reach as a result of doing all that. But if you're completely lost and you need some help on this, just crafting your pitch, there's a free version, and then it goes up from there. $99 a month, $299 a month, or $999 a month. And I guess it's broken down by how much time you want to spend with the PR people, how many pitches you want to make to the various media outlets, how many apps you're releasing during that time. I think that this really does help. As a guy who was in previous company who spent up to $10,000 a month in PR access to basically hired a PR agency, it takes a lot of time for that money to actually come to fruition. But when it does, it works very well. If you can't afford that at this moment, here are some great options to be able to help you reach the people that you need to reach in order to be able to make your apps a success. And I'm hoping that we get to see some good case studies that come out of this. Have you used it, Peggy?
Yes, I have, Rob. In fact, that's how I found the company. My client brought it to my attention. The whole idea was, I found this great company, you have to connect with them, and that's what I've done, and I'm loving it because it's actually a fantastic collaboration. You might say, oh, doesn't it put you out of business? It's like, no, this is great, because then I can focus on creating the content, curating the content, crafting the content, and I have this fantastic team that's helping me, and helping my client basically with the outreach and spreading that word, and that means then that you have a lot more time to focus on your content. In the case of app developers, all of them will have a lot more time, I think, to focus on what they want to say to the media because they have someone bringing that message to the media. And also spend more time on social media because we know that has to be human, not automated. So, all around, it's a great company. In fact, here I am. I'm going to raise my goblet of rock here. If they're listening in, Joel Andren, the founders, co-founders of PressFriendly, absolutely awesome service. You have cracked the code, and I am raising the goblet of rock to you because this is going to be a huge help, I am sure, for independent developers, companies, small garage companies that don't have the time to figure this out, and you're going to help them out. So, yes, I raise my goblet of rock.
Thank you so much, Peggy. And if you guys are listening to this, and anybody out there who's used this service or wants to use this service, go to pressfriendly.com. If you used it, reach out to us, rob@untether.tv. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Thank you for tuning in for yet another episode of the Mobile App Minute. See you next week. Thanks, Peggy.
Thanks, Rob.
Don't forget to come back next week for our next episode.